At Cedar Crest High School, students are afforded many different opportunities to individualize their education. However, education is at risk from a growing issue.
I do see, unfortunately, hunger as a widespread issue in schools. And unfortunately, it's something that continues to get worse as inflation increases, minimum wage isn't increased, more and more families are struggling, and we're seeing that being carried into the classroom.
I think it has been an issue, certainly as I talk to school district leaders, school district administrators, they identify this as an issue.
I think over the last few years, we have had, our lunch program has had a significant impact on our students' education, and in a couple of ways. One is that I think we've realized how important it is that all of our students have breakfast and lunch every day.
We have noticed that when students come to school hungry, they are less apt to learn, they are less apt to do well in their test scores.
When the COVID pandemic began, hunger became more of a concern.
There was real concern through the pandemic that many families were going to be without food. Many children who were at least getting one free meal, one good meal a day at school, were now out of school and didn't have access to that one meal.
So one of the ways we've made an impact is that during the pandemic, the federal government took free and reduced lunch in the K-12 space and made it just free for everyone for breakfast and lunch.
It's certainly something that, as we've looked at, was definitely well utilized by our students and our families, and I think very much appreciated.
During the pandemic, we were serving around 800 to 900 student meals here at the high school. Since the pandemic and meals are no longer free for each individual student, we have seen that there are only 700 to 750 meals being consumed at the high school.
When the program that fed so many expired, the question of how to feed students took different turns.
I introduced this session, Senate Bill 1327, which would make it permanent for lunch and for breakfast moving forward. In the grand scheme of things, that is the best way to make sure that kids are ready to learn.
As Senator Williams wants to make meals at school free for all, Senator Ahmet wants to ensure those who can truly not afford it get the support they need.
Issues that have risen with that, where now you have students and families who have the ability to pay, but are not paying. And so that's causing a real financial impact to school districts, which doesn't allow their dollars to stretch as far as they might otherwise to ensure those that are really desperately in need are able to get the help.
No matter the stance, legislators, students, and educators agree hunger affects education.
It's going to be a greater challenge to learn on an empty stomach.
Issues around hunger and food supply are getting worse, and young people coming to school hungry, that problem continues to get worse.
The amount of time that students who are food insecure are worrying about when they're getting their next meal is a lot of mental drain and stress and thing that also takes away from their focus. Like, even if they got a meal that day, they are still trying to figure out when they're going to get their next one.
The Cornwall-Lebanon School District utilizes its free and reduced lunch program with an average of 40% participation. Whatever the support may be, it is important to put students' well-being first to ensure a greater education.